You're listening to Growing Hope Conversations, the podcast from Growing Hope, a charity offering free therapy for children and young people with additional needs and support for their families. Join our host Bambi French as she welcomes guests who've been there, sharing real stories, honest struggles, and how churches can truly make a difference.
Tanya, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, well,
It's really
thank you so
lovely
much.
to meet you.
Yeah, great. It's great to meet you, and thank you so much for being part of the Growing Hope conversations today. You are joining a long line of many esteemed podcast guests. You're just the next one. We're really looking forward to the conversation that we're going to have today, and I'm sure that what you say will bless many people. So before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about who Tanya is?
Well, I'm primarily, I guess, a mum of two girls, a wife, an occupational therapist, a friend, a sister, a daughter, and an author.
Yeah, awesome.
And I don't know in which order to say all of those things.
Yeah. It changes. It depends what day it is.
Yes, and what outfit I have on.
Exactly. That's amazing. There's lots and lots of things there that you do. So you are, all of those things. And you've just recently finished as a occupational therapist for Growing Hope, haven't you? So you worked for the charity that this podcast is about. Yeah.
Yes,
So
I worked at the Broccoli Clinic for a few months, for 9 months, and really enjoyed that.
yeah, awesome. So we'll get to talk a little bit more about your kind of career and your work. With all of those things that you have just said that you are and do, what are the things that you are, now you'll have to choose, what are the things that you are most passionate about, I guess, in your work? Let's not choose between your children and your husband.
Well, actually, the thing I'm most passionate about in my work, it probably includes my family.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing that I'm most passionate about is parents. I have a real love and desire to support parents as they're walking through whatever life in parenthood throws at them. And so that's probably my passion. And I do that in lots of different capacities. But parents, yes, I think we spend a lot of time making sure there are therapies for children, and that's very important. And as an occupational therapist, I love being on the floor with children. But one of the things that I really enjoy doing is working with parents and supporting them.
Yeah. And that is desperately needed, isn't it? It's, something that is a gap across the country. If we're talking about the UK, especially in the area of special educational needs and additional needs, that the focus is on the child, isn't it? Or on the young person who has that need, and the parent is often the one who's fighting for those accommodations, the different things that they need, and their needs can often be neglected or put to one side. So yeah, that's really great that your focus is on them. So what kinds of things have you done with and for parents to support them on their journey?
Yeah. I think what you were saying earlier is interesting, that we as parents, we fight for the things that our children need. And that's exactly right. That's what we're meant to be doing. But I think that we often forget that we have the right to fight for the things that we need as parents too. And that actually, when we put our own oxygen masks on, in that sort of cheesy analogy, and we take care of ourselves, then we can take care of our children better. And I think I learned that lesson the hard way, having a child who has additional needs myself, and then going through a really rough patch with her in her teenage years, and with mental health and some really rough stuff happening, and actually learning that I have to take care of myself. I think it's from that place that I have a lot of compassion for parents as they walk through whatever life is throwing at them. And so I work across many different spaces. One, I work in community, so I work with people that are that come to us who need basic needs met for their children. So I can do that in that capacity through Growbaby, and we give away new and used baby equipment, nearly like a baby bank, and we create community for parents to feel really seen. And then I work with parents whose children have sensory processing difficulties, and help them understand what they're bringing to the table when their children are really struggling, to sort of regulate and do just general life.
Yeah, great. So you just touched on there that you work with an organization called Growbaby. So it's through that you're then getting to meet with parents who may well need that additional help. Just tell us a little bit more, because you kind of you told us what Growbaby is in brief there, but go back a little bit and just tell us what Growbaby is about, how it started, and how you're now involved in that.
So I've been working with Growbaby for quite many years, and Growbaby is a project that started in Kingston upon Thames. Noni and Peter Farrelly started it as part of Kingston Vineyard when they first planted the church. And the premise is that we just give away new and used baby equipment to anyone who needs it free of charge. But Growbaby's grown across the country and abroad now, and we have another organization called Growbaby International that support us all. Basically, every Growbaby is unique depending on what the local area is and what the needs are for that area, and what the gifts and talents the person that's running it brings to the table. So in Kingston, we work a lot with young parents, for example, and children and parents who have special educational needs. But in different Growbabies, they do different things. So they might do counseling or work very heavily with trafficked people that have been trafficked, all different kinds of things. It's really all about building community and helping us sort of be there for people in the best way that we can be. And build community, like I said.
Sounds awesome. Obviously there'll be a link to a website that we can link in this podcast so people can find out more, because this is the first time I'm hearing about it. So I think it sounds great, especially with the cost of, I guess, baby items. We're thinking about the cost, but also the environmental impact on some of this stuff being produced, so it really is helping everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's one of the things I love most about Growbaby, is that we not only are we helping people just afford the basics, but also we are stopping the landfill from filling up with used buggies and lots of items you only use for a very short period of time. So a baby bath you only use for a few months, and when you're done, you can give it to an organization like us, and we can recycle it into a new home. Growbaby International, if you Google them, you can find the Growbaby closest to you if you want to support them, or if you need things. Our strapline is that we support anyone regardless of income, background, or faith. So we don't ask any questions. You don't need a referral. You can just turn up. We'll give you tea, cake, and a buggy if you need it.
Awesome. Brilliant. That's great. Yeah, we'll link to all of that. We'll make sure all of that's linked for everyone listening to kind of be able to look that up and be able to share it as well with people who may need that service. So that is awesome. You do a lot of things. We know that. You've written a book. You're an author. Tell us about your book.
So I've written a book. It's called Sensory Parenting for Sensory Children. It was published in 2023 through Jessica Kinsley Publishers. And actually, it's also last year was translated into Lithuanian, which was just a really random but very fun.
Yeah. Why that language? Why that one?
It was just one day I opened my emails, and it was the editor from the publishers, and she said, "This is one of the most random emails you'll receive." And I thought it really was. She said, they've been approached by an organization, the autism organization, the national autism organization in Lithuania, and they'd chosen my book and wanted to translate it into Lithuanian, because they were looking for some information that's accessible and easy to understand for parents there. And so I went to Lithuania and did a little tour there. It was really good fun. Lithuania's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
The book was born really out of the fact that when my daughter was young, and it's undiagnosed autism and ADHD, and parenting her just didn't work in the way that I thought it should, or the way that I was parented. Everything was back to front and upside down. And I remember crying many, many tears, not understanding why what was working for my friends just wasn't working for me. And then I'd gone to a leaders conference, church leaders conference. And when I came back, God just downloaded some information to me, and I started running a course for parents who have children with sensory difficulties. I just wanted to be able to stand alongside parents in a way that people couldn't stand alongside me when my daughter was young. And it isn't about teaching parents, but rather about empowering them.
Mhm.
And the book was born from that, because I had just saw that it would be good for it to be done on paper.
Yeah.
And so that's how I ended up writing it.
Awesome. And you talk about God downloading this information, and that much your life is led by your faith, by your belief in God, your Christian faith. But I just want to make sure that people understand that, the work that Grow Baby does, the work that you do, that's not faith kind of people can come to you if they need support. It's not like,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything that we do at Grow Baby is for everybody. And in fact, many of the people that volunteer with me don't come to church. And I really love that because they bring so much variety and interesting spice of life. So yeah,
yeah.
that isn't the primary goal of everything we're
Mm.
doing.
Great. That's great. We've touched on the fact that you were an occupational therapist for Growing Hope, which is in the charity sector, but you've also worked in the public sector and the private sector. Talk to us about the difference in working in each of those sectors, and the impact that has or can have on the parents and children that you support.
Yeah. I think I worked, like you say, in the public sector for some years. I actually also worked in a school for a while, a school for children who have social communication difficulties. And then I've done some work in private practice and then for Growing Hope. And I think one of the things that I found frustrating working in the public sector was how little support there was available for parents. And that's why I think something like a place like Growing Hope is so invaluable. I found it really hard that I would do an assessment on a child. I'd write a report, say, here are things that are, you might need some support with, and then just not have the capacity to give that support to people for as long as they needed it. And so when I found Growing Hope, I got really excited because I thought this is exactly what we need. We need more places where people can come and get the support they need. And there is a huge disparity between people who can afford therapy for their children and those that can't. And it's something that really it sometimes can be a bit frustrating for me because especially in Growing Baby with the demographics that I see often do not have access to funds to be able to pay for the support that they need. And the support isn't available readily through the NHS or through other services. And so I think often people can feel a bit stranded when they can't access the therapies or the support that they need. And I think that's one of the areas that I feel really passionate about. And that's why the parenting course that I run, that's why I feel it's so important that it gets rolled out into places where everyone can access it without needing to be able to pay. I think it's really important. I think it makes people feel valued. I think people feel really alone and not valued when they can't access the support they need and they know they need.
And it adds to that kind of, and we're not saying that there's anything wrong in paying for services, and we know that there's lots of parents, like you say, lots of parents who are able to pay, but then as well there are probably more who aren't, and some of those costs can be quite steep when you are looking to maybe get an assessment for an education healthcare plan or something like that. You need multiple different types of reports, and that can mount up, can't it? So it's definitely an issue that we have, one that is starting to be solved by places like Growing Hope, Grow Baby, all of those sorts of things where that support can be gathered. It is a very difficult thing.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is when you walk into a world of special educational needs, if you've not been there before, if you're a parent who's new to that arena, it's a whole language you have to learn. There's a whole system you have to try and understand, and that can be really overwhelming if you're already trying to deal with the grief of having to understand that your child is developing differently and the trying to work out what you actually need, and then still having to nearly feel like you have to fight for what you should be getting. And so that's why organizations like us are important because we can really walk alongside people so that they don't feel families, so that they don't feel alone. We might know the language a little bit more and we can help people with that. And I think that's invaluable.
Yeah, That is great. It's really, really great the work that you're doing, that Growing Hope's doing, and other charities. We run the When Dreams Change course through Growing Hope. That is really, really powerful, in terms of just making sure that parents know that they have that time for themselves. There's one of the modules that we do where it's about them dreaming about themselves and thinking about, okay, what are you going to take forward? And I think, well, I haven't got the time. I won't have the time. And I facilitate one of the online courses, and I always say to them, well, you found an hour and a half to come to this 4 times over this month. You might just have an hour and a half that you can spend at least for yourself. And that always kind of makes people sit up and think, oh yeah.
That's a really good way of thinking about it, actually. But often we can justify that hour and a half in our head as a parent because we think, well, I'm doing it for my child.
Yes.
I think it's about sort of reminding ourselves that actually, when I look after myself, I am doing it for my child.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And now
Yeah.
that my girls are older, I realize how much they've been taking notice of what I do and don't do. And that if I've modeled taking care of myself to them as young adults, I can see that they will take time to go for a walk in the forest or whatever it is that recharges their battery because I've learned to allow myself the time to do that.
Incredible. Yeah. I always say there's a phrase I've heard that more is caught than taught. That you actually, it's what they see more than what you tell them. That's going to make the difference. It's been really, really great to talk to you actually, and actually get the perspective around what it means to be a parent of children with additional needs, but that focus around what is it that parents need, and to keep asking that question, because I think if we stop asking that question, many, many parents will just revert to, it's about my child. I need to get this for my child. And they'll forget again, So it's a constant kind of reminder. No, what are you doing for yourself? How are you taking care of yourself? How can we help you take care of yourself as well? Because the whole kind of special needs journey can be a very long one and a very, time consuming, energy sapping, all of the things. It can take a lot to keep going with that. So it is super important that parents listening really understand how important it is to take care of themselves.
Yes.
When you sort of run your courses, or when you're planning kind of what you will say to parents, what is the kind of the biblical anchor that you use? What is the God breathed advice that you give to parents all of the time, no matter what stage they're at?
I think I will always revert back to Psalm 139 and the fact that God knew us as mums and dads whilst we were still in our mother's wombs, and he knew that we were going to have the children that we have because he knew them when they were in our wombs, and that actually we are so loved and we are so held and we are so seen. And it doesn't matter how crazy it feels around us, God is always present. And so I think that is probably the one thing I'll always go back to. I have a real desire for people to understand how loved they are, how seen they are, how known they are. And if I can just be a tiny little bit of that for somebody for a moment, then I know that I've done what I needed to do. So that would be where I would always go back to.
Psalm 139. Love it. I just love the way that when I always remember that verse, just thinking of how God has created us in that space, in the secret. He didn't let anyone see before it was ready, before it was time, and it was very meticulous, and yeah, no mistake was made.
And I think that's been really an anchor for me as a parent when I've tried to navigate things that just felt overwhelming, and I felt maybe I'd made some really bad mistakes that had sort of led to some of the sort of the meltdowns and things that I was seeing, and I thought maybe it was me that had made all these mistakes. And I think I'm having people stand around me, having my church, having my friends stand beside me, reminding me that actually you're doing the best that you can in the moment. We're here for you, and God is here for you, and you are so loved. Those are the things that helped me to get through and strengthened me. So if anybody could take anything away from this conversation, it would just be to remember that you're not alone ever, even if it feels like you are.
Yeah, that's just a great place to end this conversation. It feels like We have only just started, but, we've got to kind of let people get on with their dishes or the bedtime. But it's been so wonderful to talk to you today, Tanya. I'm sure that, the future episodes, I'm sure you will feature somewhere along the line. You have a wealth of knowledge and experience to bring to us. That's great. So just remind us again where we can find you or find about the work that you're doing, and we'll make sure that we link to everything.
So you can find information about Growbaby on Growbaby International, and there will actually be a link there for the sensory parenting and the sensory course, and where you can get the book. And so contact details, everything will be there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for blessing everyone with your words of wisdom. And yeah, I'm sure everyone will enjoy listening to this and sharing it. Share it with your friends. Think of one person who needs to hear this and share it with them. Thank you. Thanks, Tanya. Thank you.
It gives you that space and the tools and the support to really come to terms with things in your own way, individually, and the resilience, the tools to carry on.
That's how one parent described when dreams change. Could you help others feel the same? Join Growing Hope as a course facilitator and support parents of children with additional needs. You don't need to be an expert, just someone who cares.
It doesn't take loads of time, but it's a brilliant resource that really changes lives.